Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. I just want to take a second and thank you guys for clicking on this video because I know it's a bit different than my normal academic or athletic content, but I know this is going to be a fun one for you guys. It's a little bit of a story, a little bit about what I did over spring break, and selfishly, this is just a great memory, video recap of a trip that was truly unforgettable. Also, like halfway through this video, I will get into studying and how to handle like missing some school, missing classes due to a vacation, how to balance that with like actually having fun on the vacation and making sure you're making great memories and having a good time. So there is a little bit of academic stuff thrown in there, but this is mostly just for fun. So enjoy the video. Let me set the scene for you all. I already knew my boyfriend Sam was going to Iceland. He told me probably last year, like in the fall. And he explained that it was just gonna be like a guy's trip. And it was all like photographers, videographers that he knew or that were mutual friends. They were gonna go in a big group and have fun in Iceland for a week. And I was like, great. And I kept making this joke. I was like, take me with you, like take me in your pocket, because I wanted to go to Iceland. Like if I'm gonna go on a spring break trip, it's gonna be to Iceland. Come on. A few months passed by and we're out to dinner, Sam and I, and he's like, I have a surprise. And I was like, what's a surprise? He goes on to tell me that they're expanding the trip to like include significant others. And of course he was like, do you want to come to Iceland with me? And I had to say yes. I was like, hell yeah. So decided I was going to Iceland on a random like Thursday night. We booked the flights, we got all the logistics set, got my passport, all of that, and before I knew it, it was already March. Now the plan was to leave on a Tuesday and come back on a Tuesday, so I would be missing 2 days of classes, like the Monday and Tuesday, right after spring break. It just ended up working out with everyone's schedule because Sam and I were the youngest people. We were the only two still in school. Everyone else had like normal jobs, so they worked that around their schedules, and we were like, all right, we can take 2 days off of classes. So that's what it looked like. I won't get too much into the details of what happened with our trip down, but we were flying out of Boston, like Logan Airport, and the day we were supposed to leave, the Tuesday, there was a huge nor'easter scheduled to like blow through the area. High winds, rain, snow, like all the above. So we decided to move our flights to the next day. I was pretty upset because I'm missing a day in Iceland, but it ended up being okay. It made for a very chaotic first couple of days in Iceland because we decided to like jam pack everything we would have done in that first day into like one day. So we did 2 days in one, basically. The setup of the trip, we were gonna do the entire ring road, which is a road that goes around the entire country of Iceland. So we were gonna do that in 6 days. Let's get into day one. All right, so our first day in Iceland. We were taking a red-eye flight from Boston into basically Reykjavik. And during the flight, about halfway through, the pilot comes over the speaker and he's like, if you look out your windows, you should be able to see a magnificent view of the northern lights. We could barely see, it was more on like the left-hand side of the plane and we were on the right-hand side. Sam and I were on the right-hand side. But I did get a little clip of the northern lights. This would unfortunately be the only time during the trip that I saw the northern lights, but I still kind of get to say that I saw them, which is cool. We got to the airport absolutely so tired. I had never flown overnight and nobody got any sleep on this flight, so.
Is this for the vlog?
I don't know what it's for. We're tired. We were coming in super fresh and ready to start the day. Grabbed a coffee in the airport, got our rental cars, everything went super smoothly. And then we had to drive about half an hour actually into Reykjavik. One of the guys that was traveling with us, he has a friend that's from Iceland, lives in Reykjavik, that he met while he was studying abroad. So he was able to get in contact with this guy and we actually met him at this super cute little cafe that he recommended. So I grabbed my second coffee of the day and it was nice just to like sit somewhere that wasn't plain and eat something, kind of take in, all right, we're in Iceland, we're about to get going. It was a great way to start the morning.
It's worth it. I'd say it's good.
At this point, it was like 9 a.m. and that friend of one of the people we're traveling with had us follow him to his house. We were able to talk with him for a little bit. He showed us like the scenery outside of his house, which is so cool that we literally stepped out of his driveway and like we saw this view. From here on, I kind of deemed day one as the day of many waterfalls. So we made this first stop. I remember I was sleeping and I felt the car stopping and I woke up So I was like half asleep. I got out of the car and I was like, whoa, hello, and saw this scene in front of me. I don't remember exactly what this place was called. It was kind of just a spot that we popped off the road to go see. Ended up being a pretty cool location. It was freezing and super windy though, so didn't last too long. The next location we went to, it's here on the screen. I'm not gonna try to pronounce any of these Icelandic names. This was the first waterfall we saw. Absolutely beautiful. I just remember the way the light was coming over the rocks. I think there's a clip in here of that. It was gorgeous, a beautiful way to start the morning. What I thought was really cool too is it seemed like a pretty isolated area. There weren't really any houses or places that you could see, but all of a sudden there's like, boom, this waterfall, and there's a little gift shop and a place you can get food and drinks and bathrooms and all these people. It's like in the middle of nowhere, just this little gathering. So it was really cool. We stopped in the gift shop for a little bit. I didn't get anything, but again, it was cool to look around and just take it all in. We eventually all came back together, hopped in our cars, and headed off to the next waterfall. This next one, another waterfall. That's the name of it. And it's pretty cool. We actually didn't go all the way up to the waterfall, but just kind of stayed around a different lookout point. A lot of guys were flying their drones here, so I just took a second to kind of climb down to the water's edge and sit and take it in and wait for them to finish up. The last waterfall of day one was Skogafoss, and this one was epic. It definitely became my favorite. I love the little rainbow, and Sam and I got super close to the base of the falls to get some nice photos. So the goal of this day was to make up all the time we had lost from the day that we missed due to our flights having to change. And we did that. We totally did that with what we had scheduled to go see that day. However, we also had to make sure we drove all the way to our first Airbnb spot. That would have been like technically night 2. So it was like a good 6-hour drive, maybe more than that, I don't even remember, but our goal was to get to the town of Hoffen, Iceland. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. So that's where our first Airbnb was. I remember pulling up to that place and just wanted to pass out. I was so tired, but we made it, and that was the end of day 1. Day 2 might have been my favorite day. It started super early though. We got up and Sam and I ended up making breakfast for everyone, which was super cool. We had toast, eggs, bacon, the full gambit. Everybody was nice and fed because we were going on an ice cave tour. I'm gonna rewind for 2 seconds and tell a little quick story. So because we made a nice breakfast for everybody, we were running a little bit late. And instead of stopping for gas in the town, because both cars needed gas at this point, we had driven however many hours, however many miles or kilometers the day before. Both cars needed gas, but we were running late and we couldn't miss our tour time. So instead of doing the math and figuring out, okay, what's the closest gas station to where we're gonna go? Will we be able to make it? We just took off. And we were about halfway, it was an hour drive to the tour. We were about halfway there and we realized that both cars were gonna be able to make it to our tour spot, but not to a gas station after that, because there's not a gas station every couple of minutes. It was like half an hour to the nearest gas station from the ice cave tour spot, so we were gonna run out of gas in the middle of nowhere. When we got to the place we were getting our tour guide met us and told us it was kind of gonna be a private tour because we were the only group booked with him for that morning. And we immediately introduced ourselves and then told him our problem with the gas. And he kind of laughed, and his response I think speaks to a lot of the people that we met in Iceland, so nice, so kind. He was immediately like, all right, give me a second, I'm gonna think, how can I help you guys, but we'll figure this out for you, don't worry, you'll get gas in your car. Long story short, this is kind of jumping to after the tour, but he lent us his manager's car, and 2 people from our group drove it to the gas station that was half an hour away, borrowed their gas canister, filled it up with gas, brought it back. We filled up both cars and were able to make it back to Hoffen to actually fill up our cars. But he just lent us his car without even knowing us. So best tour guide, best freaking ice cave tour guide out there, let me tell you. The actual tour. So it was really cool. We drove up to this kind of gravel, rocky parking lot that had some food trucks and a little gift shop, bathroom area, kind of like the waterfall from the day before. And we got in this huge, monster truck-esque Ford truck, and it was about a half an hour drive on road for like 10 minutes and then off-roading. Finally, we made it to like the secondary parking lot and we got out. It was a little bit of a hike to the mouth of the cave. We got to put like micro spikes on to help us on the ice, and we made our way into the ice cave. Now I'm saying this is probably my favorite day because I think the ice cave was my favorite thing. It was beautiful. It was glowing, this blue color, and I was really only able to get videos in this first kind of cavern place because it was light there. My camera does not do well in low levels of light, but the second and the third rooms were equally as beautiful. Nothing like I've ever seen before. I'm throwing up a picture eventually, or maybe I already did, of me in the last like really dark room. Sam took it on his camera. It was like a long exposure shot because he had a tripod. So glad we did it. 100% worth it if you're going to Iceland. Do an ice cave tour. After that, we got back in the car on our way to Hoffen, and we stumbled upon these horses that there are a ton of wild horses everywhere in Iceland. We had seen them a lot before, but they were like right up against this like fence. And we decided to stop and just get out and take some photos and videos of them. So that's what you're seeing here. The super majestic creatures. Pretty cool. And the last photo spot of the day was this black sand beach. This was really cold and really windy, but definitely worth it again. Every place we went to was worth it. It was such a cool place. We were the only kind of people there, which made it, I think, even better for photos and videos. We kind of broke off, like Sam and I were doing our own thing. The other couples were out and about shooting their own photos and videos. Some people were by themselves. It was a great time just to explore and be creative and take it all in. And we had one member of the group take a few photos of us, which ended up being my favorite photos to come out of this trip. And the last photo that I'm showing in this kind of sequence is my phone lock screen, and probably will be for the next like 5 years. So it was a great spot. We ended up leaving around 6 p.m. We drove back into Hoffen and went to like the biggest, craziest restaurant in Hoffen, which is called Pack House. And this was not fine dining, but it was dining. Like they had a menu, pretty expensive entrees. We all started off with drinks while we waited for a table to be ready, and then we finally sat, had such a delicious meal, and Sam and I split a dessert. It was a nice way to end the night. Now, day 3. Didn't film a ton here, and that's because we kind of have another story time upon us. We started out last day in Hoffen, we packed up, and our goal for this day was to make it to Akureyri. I'm gonna put it on screen. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but it's like the Reykjavik of the north. It was another like 6-hour drive. We were gonna take our time though and stop at different photo locations we saw, just like as we were driving, kind of pull off. So that's this first location. I loved the 3 mountains here. Thought they were super cool. Again, I took some time to walk out by myself, kind of down by the shoreline, and just pause for a second and take it in. This terrain and this place is unlike anything I've ever seen before. So I'm definitely glad I took moments just to myself, kind of to be mindful and look at what was around me and think of how crazy it was. We stopped by this other really cool rock formation. Again, just interesting to look at. Took some photos, videos, got the drones up, and then the snow came. The night before, we had kind of heard and seen on the weather that they were gonna get a little bit of snow in Iceland, kind of where we were gonna be driving and where we were driving to. But we didn't really think much of it, even though we probably should have, because again, we were driving on this like one road, not a lot of places around, houses, nothing like that. No street lights, nothing. So if it snows, you're kind of on your own. Yes, there are other cars driving past, like occasionally, but it's scary to be out there by yourself. So we start driving and it starts snowing, and the snow really starts coming down to the point where we were all like scared. I don't think the videos do it justice, but we were trying to like play music and make each other laugh and like not think about the situation we were in, because we couldn't have stopped. It's only like one lane going in each way. It would have been more dangerous. The snow would have accumulated. We couldn't have stopped, so we had to keep going, and the snow kept getting a little bit deeper and deeper. It was really scary, and glad I'm out alive, but just kind of another like lesson learned to check the weather and make sure you're prepared for what's about to happen to you if you are gonna get stuck in the snow. But both cars made it safe and sound. I will never forget driving through this like tunnel that goes through a mountain and not having it snow on us anymore because we were driving through a mountain. and we pop out the other side and the snow is a little bit less, and you can see Akureyri, or the city we were going to, like on the other side of this, like a bay, and it was just like glowing in the distance, and it reminded me of like Polar Express, kind of Polar Express vibes, just like North Pole. It was remarkable, beautiful, and I was like, okay, we made it, we did it. It was a long drive. I don't have a lot of clips from day 3 because we were all kind of scared and there was nothing really to film. However, I will also say it was on this day that I did kind of do a little bit of schoolwork. So up to this point, I hadn't thought about school. I hadn't looked at any study material. I had my backpack with me with my iPad and all my school stuff. But I made it a point that this was the only time I was going to be in Iceland for the foreseeable future. If I want to go and take a photo of this or look out the window for an hour and not do it, like, I'm gonna do that. School can take a step back for a second. So when it was snowing, before it got scary, but while it was snowing and the scenery was kind of very much the same for hours and hours, I did pull out my iPad and started studying for a midterm that I had a few days, or literally 2 days after we got back. So we got back on the Tuesday. I had a midterm in one of my pharmacy classes on the Thursday. So I took out my iPad. I even sent a picture to my friend because her dad is the professor of the class. I sent her a picture of me and I was like, hey, don't say I'm not committed, you know? And I was like, show this to your dad for a few extra brownie points. I don't know if she actually did, but this was the one thing I was gonna say when I mentioned it earlier in the video, that I really truly believe if you're on vacation during spring break or whenever it may be, wherever it is, really do your best to live in the moment. School will be there. You will find a way to make up for the lost time. Make sure you plan ahead before you leave. Make sure you have friends that are gonna give you notes or voice record the class for you, whatever. Have that set up before you go. But once you get on a plane or train or car, when you're on that vacation, like, take that vacation. Your brain needs this space. After this trip, I am so glad I did not stress about school or missing classes really at all. So that's my little academic wisdom for you all. Let's get back to the actual story. That was like day 3, and it was also at this point I was filming all of these clips not really knowing what I would turn it into. I didn't know if I was gonna be vlogging or doing a recap like this or just not doing anything with it and just having the videos as memories. So you'll see I'll start to throw in more like Snapchat videos, and I'm sorry if that gets annoying, but I really want to like piece together this story for you all, and I think it's more complete with Snapchat photos and videos and vertical video, things that I didn't think necessarily would go into a YouTube style video. But with all that being said, let's get into day 4. On day 4, we started off in the cutest cafe that rivals day 1's cafe in Reykjavik. I got a ham and cheese sandwich. There's something about ham in Iceland. They really like their ham. Ham and hot dogs. But I'll touch on the hot dogs in a little bit. After breakfast, we all packed into our cars and decided to backtrack a little bit. There were a few locations that we didn't end up going to because of the snow the previous day. We ended up at this waterfall. It's called Godafoss, and it's one of the bigger ones in the north. We lost a drone there too. I forget whose drone it was, but RIP to the drone that we lost in the waterfall. Just another great spot. We stopped into like gift shop and cafe area after, and I got the world's best hot chocolate. It was the ambiance that made it the best hot chocolate in the universe. The last bigger story of the trip. We're in between that first Godafoss waterfall area and our next location, and there was a shortcut that we had pulled over and kind of were talking in between the cars like, oh, which way do we want to take? Do we want to take the shortcut? Do we want to go around and go the longer way? The car in front of us, it wasn't our car, was like, let's just take the shortcut. They proceed to like drive off onto this kind of sketchy, not paved road that had a pretty sizable mound of snow at the start of it. Afterwards, after that mound of snow, it got pretty like flat. There wasn't a lot of snow, but you had to clear this little patch. They didn't clear it and they got stuck, and they got really stuck to the point where we couldn't figure out how to get them out. We were trying to push them out. It wasn't helping. All of a sudden, this car stops and this French couple get out and they ask us if we speak French, and no one spoke French. So kind of unfortunate, but they started to try to help us as well. So now we had 11 people trying to help us get this car out of the snow. And then another couple stops, and for some reason they had a shovel in their trunk. I can't make this up. So we start to try to use their shovel to like shovel underneath the car because there was a ton of snow like packed underneath the car instead of just the wheels. We tried to use their shovel, still nothing was happening. A third car stops, and this time Icelandic native person comes out accompanied by, I'm assuming, this other couple that she was like guiding around as like a little tour of the whole entire country. I don't know, I can only assume. She came in on a mission. She goes, I'm used to this. I'm not gonna try to do her accent, but it was fantastic. She's like, I'm used to this, let me drive the car, I will get it unstuck. And we were like, all right. So all the guys like lined up and she was like, 3, 2, 1 or whatever, and just guns it, and all the guys are pushing in. The car gets out of the snow, and then she like turns around and guns it back up the little like incline with the mound of snow, and she makes it back onto the main road, and everyone was like clapping, and we all like went our separate ways. But it was just a really cool moment. Like, we're in the middle of nowhere in Iceland, and we had this huge group of people out here helping get our car unstuck. Super cool humanity moment. So after that fiasco in the snow, we made it to our final location of the day, which was this really cool basalt canyon. A lot of the guys had a lot of fun flying their drones around. It wasn't a great like straight up photo location, but the drone footage they got out of this place was really cool because it's a canyon, so they were flying their drones through these like tight spaces, and it was really cool. At this point, everyone was pretty done with the day. So I'm gonna quick fire on screen some photos to end this beautiful day. I got this Coca-Cola at a shawarma place that we went for dinner. I got a chicken shawarma and Sam got a lamb shawarma, and it was fantastic. I like couldn't even finish it. We went to this bar next door. I got like a spritz drink. We weren't even there that long. Everyone kind of just had one drink, and then we had to make it back to our Airbnb because we had an early morning the next morning and we didn't want to be out too late, even though I would have really liked to explore the city some more. And our final full day in Iceland, let's get this. So at the end of the day, or by mid-afternoon, we had to make it back to Reykjavik. So it was like a 4 or 5 hour drive in between the two cities. In between, during the drive, we decided to stop off at this other like rock formation that Sam had actually found online, and I'm so glad we did. We kind of had to drive like half an hour out of our way, but it was very much worth it. I did a little bit of hiking to like get down to the water line so I could get a better view of this like rock formation. There were a ton of birds, funnily enough, and I think we were disturbing them because it was early in the morning and we were again like flying our drones around. That was kind of our final like scenic spot in Iceland. At this point, we got to Reykjavik and had a late lunch at one of their famous like hot dog places. It said it was the best hot dog in Iceland, and I kind of believe it. I don't even remember what was on mine, but I got it. I told the man, just put everything on there, and he did. It was really good. After that, we had some time to explore the city for a second, so we went into this bookstore. We also went and some people got like souvenirs. Nice to kind of spend some time in civilization. After that, we had booked a lava cave tour, so we drove out about an hour, braved the Reykjavik traffic, and made it to our tour of this giant lava cave. Our tour guide was super funny. I don't have a ton of clips from here because again, it was really dark, but they had these lights going on in the cave to make it look like magma or lava was still flowing. It was a really cool experience. Again, I highly recommend, especially because it was really close to Reykjavik, so if you're taking a trip to Iceland and you're staying in that general area, it's definitely worth it. With our final night, Sam and I decided to peel off from the group and kind of do our own thing for dinner. We ended up at a restaurant called Caruso. It was an Italian place. It was kind of like built into a house almost. So it was really cozy and it was a candlelit, beautiful dinner. We had such a good meal. It was great to just talk and recap the entire trip. It was also really cool because every table, you could tell they were like from a different place in the world. Some people had like British accents, some people were talking in Icelandic. It was really, really remarkable. Something that I have not experienced here. We ended our night walking through the Rainbow Road in Reykjavik and ended up at a bar for drinks. We each got a Cosmo. It was super good. The bartender was very nice. And we finally made it back to our Airbnb, ready for some much needed sleep. So the final day, I really don't have much in the way of video. We ended up going to Blue Lagoon, or we had a reservation for Blue Lagoon in the morning. at 8 a.m. and I didn't take my phone, or obviously didn't have my camera in the lagoon or really around the lagoon, because I wanted to be there completely present and I didn't want to get lagoon water in my phone and on my camera. So sorry for the lack of content, but you can kind of see it's super relaxing. Definitely makes your hair brittle and dry, but they have plenty of conditioner and shampoo that you can use after. I know some people say that it seems very touristy there, or like there might be a lot of people, or it's overrated. I really enjoyed it. There weren't a ton of people, and as we were there was like steam rising from the lagoon, and it was also snowing down on us. So you can't really tell from the photos, but it was completely surreal to have it be like snowing, snow's landing on your head, and then you're also being warmed up by this geothermal hot tub. I highly recommend, if you're going to Iceland, do Blue Lagoon. And with that, that was the end of our trip. The end of all the exciting stories, because thank God our flight back was very uneventful. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I know it was kind of like random and all over the place, but this is also like for my family that watches my channel. You guys know now what I did in Iceland. Completely unforgettable trip, and it definitely lit a spark in me to want to travel to more places abroad. Obviously also in the US, because we have so much here in this country, but I don't know, there's something about being abroad in a new place where your language isn't spoken and you use a different currency. It's really cool to me. So please look forward to more videos to come on academics and athletics. I'm right in the middle of exam season. If you guys like this video, please don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all those normal YouTube things, because it really helps me out. It seriously does. I love you guys, and I hope you're staying happy, staying healthy out there. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.